Hello everyone. So today we're going to be talking about a character that is metallic and it was from a different universe altogether than the Marvel 616 universe or any other Marvel universe for that matter. And we will explain ourselves a little further in detail, but this character is named Death's Head. Now, Death's Head was originally created as a throwaway character, only for use in the UK Transformers comic. Basically a bounty hunter to be featured in a single story arc and then, according to the writer Simon Furman, be discarded down the line, probably at the end of the first story arc. So this was technically a character that was, for the most part, worthless, and they didn't think much of him. Now, Jeff Sr. then showed Furman the initial character redesigns, and at which point they decided the character had actual potential beyond its planned appearance as a quote-unquote generic shock mech with an attitude type character. As a result of this, Simon Furman also rewrote the Transformers scripts to change Death's Head dialogue in line with the revised character concept. Now, to avoid Hasbro claiming ownership of the character as a consequence of the Transformers copyright terms that they had also agreed with Marvel, Death's Head had to make its debut in another Marvel comic before appearing in the Transformers. This situation also applied to another character that Marvel created, Circuit Breaker. Accordingly, Furman wrote a single-page strip that was published in a number of Marvel UK titles. Now, there are various versions of the Death's Head character. What we are talking about with the original is the Death's Head 1. Because the initial Death's Head stories ceased any and all publication, the character was then revamped for inclusion in the Marvel UK's next wave of titles, where it became the company's biggest ever exported seller. Now, as far as the character's biography goes, Death's Head's first appearance after High Noon Tex was in Transformers, seeing him attempt to claim the bounty that Rodimus Prime had placed on Galvatron's head, traveling back in time to the 1980s in pursuit of his quarry. Realizing the error he had made in placing the bounty, Rodimus followed him back and stopped him from destroying Galvatron, forcibly returning him back to the future. Subsequently, Death's Head was contracted by the Decepticons to also take out Rodimus Prime, a piece of business that Death's Head considered a pleasure. However, Rodimus outsmarted him and instead paid him to terminate Cyclonus and Scourge. Over the course of the next year, Death's Head pursued them, eventually confronting them on the planet of Junk, where they fell under the mental control of Unicron. Death's Head tried to resist the control but was manipulated into killing Shockwave, only to eventually help Rodimus Prime seal Unicron within the Matrix. Finally, prevented from escaping the scene by the explosions racking the area, Death's Head forced himself, Cyclonus, and Scourge through Unicron's time portal, vowing to kill them at another time. However, in the course of the time they traveled, they became separated, and while Cyclonus and Scourge wound up on Cybertron in the past, eventually joining with Scorponok and becoming the Target Masters. Death's Head instead encountered the Time Lord known as the Doctor. As a matter of self-defense, the Doctor shrank him into human size and shot him off through time, thus explaining the size difference between the Transformers comics and the regular Marvel comics. He arrived on Earth in the year 8162, leading to an encounter with the future government's troubleshooting team, Dragon's Claws, where he was heavily damaged in an explosion and buried under a collapsed building. Now, Death's Head was recovered by the Chain Gang and rebuilt with a redesigned body by one of their members, Sprat. In exchange for this rescue, he confronted Dragon's Claws again on the Chain Gang's behalf, defeating and capturing Scavenger. When the Claws came to recover their missing member, Death's Head defeated Dragon but opted not to kill him, instead walking away and stating that his chronometer was a minute slow, and his contract had therefore expired. The Chain Gang were arrested, and Sprat, who had escaped their arrest, opted to join Death's Head. Now, Death's Head and Sprat then relocate to the Los Angeles resettlement, where Death's Head once again went into business as a freelance peacekeeping agent. Death's Head was later hired to capture the Doctor and his TARDIS, which led him being stuck in the present day, and at that time is where he confronted the Fantastic Four. And he was then sent by Reed Richards to the year 2020, where he met the Iron Man of that era and gave him friendly advice on mercenary work. In 1990, the ongoing storyline was resolved in the Marvel UK Death's Head, the Body in Question story, which was serialized in the magazine strip before they had reprinted in the Marvel graphic novel format. In this story, Death's Head was becoming worried that he was starting to enjoy killing too much and was prolonging missions for fun rather than simply doing it for the money. In addition, Death's Head's origins were revealed to him for the first time. His mechanoid body was originally constructed to host the life energy of the techno-mage Lupex, a psychotic who hunted beings for sport and stole their bodies upon killing them. However, a woman named Pyra, who wished to steal Lupex's secrets, ultimately decided to use the mechanoid body against him. She gave it to a cold and calculated business-like mind, but before it could be used against Lupex, the body was stolen by an unknown party, enlarged to the size of the Cybertronians, and then catapulted through time. Death's Head was used as a pawn by Pyra, who wished to get him to a point where he could kill Lupex, while Lupex had begun to hunt Death's Head with the intention of gaining his body. Driven to his mental limits and nearly killed, he was eventually able to kill Lupex and refusing to be, quote, anything like his father, and thus killed him quickly while declaring he kills only for profit or survival. Around this time, Death's Head also made a few appearances in some of the U.S. comic books, and most notably the Fantastic Four, where he was hired by the Time Variance Authority. Now, eventually, after many undocumented adventures, Death's Head was beheaded, and his personality was, quote-unquote, assimilated into the mind of a cyborg minion. Now, Minion was a cyborg created by Dr. Evelyn Nickler, a long-term pet project created after years of research, which included the Xandarian world mind being temporarily uploaded into the Minion program Gestalt Matrix. By the year 2020, he was an employee of AIM, and the final Minion, as well as the prototype, Death Wreck, was designed to protect the organization from a psychically detected threat. It killed and assimilated the minds of multiple targets as preparation for this. Now, Death's Head personality overall overwhelmed Minion's programming before it could take out its final target, which was Reed Richards of the Fantastic Four, and they became the Gestalt life form that called itself Death's Head 2. Now, Death's Head 2 was partnered with Tuck, an artificial human from the pseudo-medieval planet of Lionheart, where humans had outlawed advanced technology and thus waged war against androids and cyborgs. Neo-Nazi black mage Baron Strucker IV magically combined himself with the original Death's Head corpse to become the supervillain Charnel, a recurring enemy for Death's Head 2 and a threat to the AIM that they had predicted. With other assimilated personalities co-mingling with that of the quote-unquote freelance peacekeeper, Death's Head changed as a character, becoming a more heroic and quite far less amoral figure than the original, as well as losing his unique mannerisms. He hopped across the time and realities in many adventures, often fighting for the greater good. In one adventure, he volunteered for a heroic sacrifice, whereas before he would have required some payment. He encounters many Marvel characters, including the Fantastic Four, X-Men, Spider-Man, the Hulk, and also Cable, and crossed over with almost every Marvel UK character who was being published at the time. Now, the third version of Death's Head was introduced in a 5-part storyline with the pages of Marvel anthology series Amazing Fantasy Volume Number 2, beginning in number 16 of December 2005. Written by Death's Head creator Simon Furman and drawn by James Ryas. This story is set for 100 years in the future and does not appear to be directly linked to the previous Death's Head stories. Now, AIM are set to make peace with the UN and become a legitimate, non-terrorist organization. Hardliner for AIM senior scientist Patricia Goddard has dedicated to stop the peace treaty and force AIM back underground by assassinating the UN Secretary General, using a mysterious alien cyborg in AIM's possession, codenamed Death's Head. Powered and given intelligence by an artificial variant on the Unipower, the cyborg is set out into the field with pre-programmed objectives, but the clash between its murderous inclinations and its instinctive desire to help people leave it unsure on which side it wants to be on. The final panel of the Death's Head 3.0 story concludes with an image of the cyborg with mouth horns, including the original Death's Head. It is mentioned as now operating as a deniable troubleshooter for the Geist organization, the Global Enforcement Intelligence Symposium Task Force, carrying out operations that cannot be officially involved in or for any other political reasons. Now, in the Revolutionary War, which takes place in 2014, Death's Head 2 took a contract from Psycho Wraith Prime to capture Captain Britain so that he could track where the villain's base was and to find out if Miss Tech were returning, basically so he could get the money. When he was himself double-crossed and captured and handed to an earlier Evelyn Nickler to be dissected, he sent a fail-safe signal to Tuck to hire the earliest Death's Head, this one a human size rather than the Transformer version, to come to his rescue. After a brief fight, the two of them tore through an army of Death's Head 3.0s, but were defeated and the original Death's Head was captured to be used to create a portal to Hell. Both Death's Heads and Tuck fought against Mephisto's armies, gunning down the demonic kill power. Afterward, they departed to discuss the future. Now, as far as powers and abilities go with this character, he is essentially a cyborg. You can detach his head, and as long as you can give him a new body, he's coming back. He has all kinds of lasers and weapons at his disposal, internally and as well as externally outside of his body. The strength level is off the charts depending on what character design you're talking about, the Transformer version or the regular version in Marvel Comics. Depending on any of these type of things, this character can lift anywhere up to like 30 tons and can also be as big as 30 tons. Anyway, you folks have a wonderful afternoon, a good night, a good morning, whichever. We hope you liked this video. Please like, share, and subscribe. We need that around here as always. Also, go down to the comment section down below, write down a comment, tell us what kind of character you would like to talk about, and we'll try to make that happen. As always, Excelsior, see ya.